Okay, final install of the day. IL Motorsport center console right here. This is a replacement. It's not OE design, but it does go in exactly the way the OE does. You can see right there all the guts. We're going to need to transfer the power window switches, which is going to go right here in this hole. Then also the shift boot. If you have a shift boot, it's going to go over here. And this does open, so you have a cubby here as well, like I said earlier. And then it's got this indentation right here for your cell phone and stuff like that. So super easy to install. It does come with instructions right here and 4 screws. So depending on the hardware you're going to use, it could be screws or it could be bolts. But you know, if you want to use the OE and OE spec, it's going to be the screws. So let's go install this. We're going to pull off the other one first, and then we'll come back and pop this in. First, we're going to take off the center bolt right here under the ashtray. Again, we're not using OE hardware here, so you're probably going to use a Phillips screwdriver to take this guy out. There's one right here, one on each side of the console, and then 2 in the center right here inside the glove box that you can't see. All right, so we're just gonna do that for now. We're gonna put our bolts in here. As you can see, this guy right here is what it torques. Let's pop this guy off. Same with this. After you remove the 2 front ones, we're gonna take off these 2 right here. All right. Might be hard to see, but I'm trying my best to not block you guys too much. Take that guy off. Take this guy off. Then we should be free as far as I know. So we'll just leave that guy in there for now. And then in the front right here, right, the shift knob needs to come off because obviously we need to pull this whole thing off. You can't do that with a shift knob in place. So pop this guy off. And then be able to pull this assembly up and then disconnect the window switches. You're gonna pop this off, and back here you're gonna need to move this rubber boot around the handles. Okay, then we just slide it forward, and this reveals the switches down here. So the switches we're gonna need to disconnect one by one, like so. Okay, so now we need to take this apart so we can put the switches on the new one. So back here, as you can see, the guts, all right, it's hard to see, but the screws right there, 1 and 2. All right, we're gonna pop those 2 off, and same with the shift boot right here on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wiggle, wiggle. There you go. So those are our switches right there with the OE connectors on the back. Put that on the side. Here's our screws. Then now we're gonna take off the shift boot right here. Pop off the frame, and there you go. Next, we're gonna take out the lock assembly right here. My hand might be in the way, but let's see if you can see it. Pop that guy off. And then the other guy right here. Now this is totally optional if you want to keep your lock, because I didn't use my lock because it's kind of silly actually. It doesn't really do much if you just break it. All right, the stock shift boot, we're gonna cut this off with scissors, or you could use a box cutter. I'm gonna test the scissors here and see if it cuts straight. Yeah, it's pretty clean actually. Or you use scissors. I know it seems ghetto, but it's not. There you go, nice and clean. So now we need to take off these extra screws right here they provide you. You could use your OE or you could use these. These look super long, but we'll see. So we pop those guys off. And then we take our boot, drop it down in here, and hopefully it lines up. Ah, there you go. Pop all of these guys in. That looks pretty good. They looked kind of long earlier, I guess not. Okay, that on. Let's give it a tug, make sure it's good. I'm gonna flip it around to check. Yeah, that looks good. Next, we're gonna get our OEM window switch. We're gonna drop this in the switch hole right here. You might need to trim some of the corners if it doesn't just drop in, but it should get pretty close. Okay, you just got to play with it. Okay, there you go. Okay, now don't over tighten these. This is going to a plastic thread, so there you go. Just gonna flip it around real quick. Solid, no movement. Okay, that's good. So on the back right here, this is your lock cylinder area. So this is your lock cylinder, and it goes up right there. I'm gonna flip this around and show you where it goes. So this guy goes, where is it? Is it this way? Just wiggle it, make sure it's sturdy, and there you go. Now you got your lock cylinder in. We got our switch assembly here, and also our shift boot. So let's throw this on the car. Now we're gonna use new bolts for this. I'm gonna use an M5 by 35 mil for the back, and also M5 by, I think this is 20 mil length cap for the sides. Okay, remind me that it's on my shirt. All right, so with this, it's good to open it and slide it under the levers back here. Okay, and then you need to take your connectors and you connect it back here. It's a little bit tricky and it's hard to see where you're at, but you see this? All right, left and right. I gotta double check, make sure. Okay, this is the right side and left side. Good thing it's written right on there. Okay, okay, so that's good. Now this console is gonna delete the center screw, so cap that screw because you're not gonna need it. The screw hole, not the screw. Right, and then just feel around, make sure that everything clears, you're not crushing wires, the wires aren't in the way before you bolt anything in. Okay. Just look at it, make sure everything clears, cycle the e-brake. Okay, it looks good. Okay, for the back right here, we use riv nuts. If you haven't seen how I do that, look at my other video called riv nuts. I'm gonna put it up here. And we're gonna use a longer bolt, and these are M5 by, I think, 40 millimeters now. And we're just gonna drop it in here. And this is way nicer than using the screws that comes factory with this car. It just looks nice, all right? And what we wanna do is make our car as nice as possible, unless you're building a drift missile. I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, a little bit tricky here to get this camera angle without blocking you guys too much. So what we're gonna do is gonna just screw this in loose, and then we're gonna screw the front, and that's slotted right here, as you can see that, so you can go forward and back depending on your car, because not every car is the same. So as you can see, this can move forward and back. We're gonna keep that loose for now, and we're gonna dress the front. Okay, so that's fixed. Now we're gonna go back here. You won't be able to see this, but remember how it looked earlier. We're just gonna tighten the back ones after everything on the front's set, and then we should be golden. Now you don't have to like over tighten these bolts. This is going into the plastic here, so you don't want to gouge it. Just enough. It ain't going nowhere. Here's the final setup. E-brake doesn't get in the way. As you can see, we cycle this so it doesn't rub. Shift boot's installed. Nothing hits when you go back and forth. The switches, God, I almost forgot what these things were called. The switches are installed. If you don't have power windows, you can use the regular blankings on here to cover this hole. And then we got cap screws holding the front right there, and also the button heads back here. As you can see, we did use riv nuts for that, so it doesn't just go into the chassis without threads. And right there, as you can see, the levers are covered. Close that. There's actually an optional little padding right here that you could put in this hole if you want. You don't have to, but if you want more, I guess, comfort, you can do that. There's a little cubby right here, and also over there. They do sell a version with a cup holder, but we opted not to get that because it just looks better this way. And that's pretty much it, man. Super easy.